In this session, we will be see Flask virtual environment setup and run the basic Flask app. To start with, we'll go to the official portal. The easiest way to get started, always go use the official documentations for the related projects or the modules. Let's say we wanted to install a virtual environment before starting Flask. We will be go with virtual environment. I'm using here Mac. So in your case, if you're using Windows, you can follow these commands. If you're using Mac or Linux, you can follow this command. First, you can go to the directory that you wanted to do with. So I have already created a folder called API. And then right now, I want to create a virtual environment. In my case, I'll run this code to check what are the files are available here. I have already created readme.md file, and now it created a virtual VNV folder for us. So now we wanted to activate the virtual environment. You can run this command. Yeah, so now we are in virtual environment. So how do we check? So if you are trying the command which Python, it will display the path. So it's supposed to be display the virtual environment path. And also you can check the current version. So in my case, the Python version is 3.8.0. Okay. So before moving further, you ensure that you are in Python version 3. If you're running on Python version 2, then you have to upgrade to Python version 3x. It can be any version of 3x. I mean 3. The latest version will be the good thing to have. So now we want to install the Flask. For any Python module, if you want to install, we can use pip install command. So we'll use this command to install. So ensure that you have activated the virtual environment. So how will you activate? So you can run this command. And if you are in Windows, you have to use this command to activate. After that, so you have to install pip install Flask. It will take few seconds to install. Maybe if you have any warning or suggestions, then you can run that as well. So just to upgrade. Okay, good to go. Now we'll try to see what are the packages are installed so far. So Flask related dependencies are installed, and in my case, the Flask supposed to be in version 2. If you're using Flask version 1, then you have to upgrade to Flask 2. Follow this session. Then we'll use the quick start guide to go ahead further. So in this case, it's a simple route of the root, and then we'll just print the hello world. So let's copy this command, and we wanted to create a hello.py, something like that. Let's create hello.py. I'm using VS Code for running this. I mean, for a code environment. Okay. So now done. So if you're not activated, okay. So if I change it to my local virtual environment, so now the session's gone. I'll just zoom it a little bit. So now we have the basic route ready. So what they are suggesting to run the API Flask app. So you have to use Flask keyword, also hyphen app, and hello is the file name that you have created, and run is the command. So how will I check? Before that, we'll check the Flask version as well. We have already checked anyway. So here we can able to see 2.2. So we will just cross check. So when you run Flask version, it will return the Python version, Flask version, and version. So I'm in 3.x and when Flask 2.x. X it can be vary. It can be like 2.1 point or something like that, or 2.2.2 or 2.2.0 or something like that. It can be any subversions. So, that is perfectly fine. After that, we can run the app. Let's copy, ensure that you are in that folder. So right now I have created hello.py. So we'll copy that. Okay. So here there is a warning. It is a development server. So if you want to stop this server, you can use Control C. Right. So it's running on the port 127.0.0.1, or other words, we will call it as localhost, and the port is 5000. The default port is 5000. So I already have the extension called REST client. So if you have installed this REST client, so we can easily create some HTTP files to run the app part. So we have created. We'll check. Yeah. So we got the result. Hello world. If you notice here, either it can be localhost or can separate it by, or we can run with the 127.0.0.1. So this also will give you the same result. How do we ensure that that is a different result? We'll just change it. So if you notice here, the server is not restarted. Even though I'm getting the same result which was before, if you notice here. Okay, what is the problem with that? Because we are running in the we are not running as a debug mode, because the debug mode is off right now. When the debug mode is off, then it means that if there are any changes in the code, it will not detect. How will I do that? Let's say if there are any changes happened, then if you want to auto detect, and then if you want to run the app, we have to run it on the Flask debug mode. How do you do that? So we have to add that debug flag. So let's stop the server. How do you stop the server? You can use Control C to stop the server. Okay. So Flask hyphen app, then hello, then hyphen debug, and run. Perfect. If you notice here, the previous command, the same warning, same port, same thing. But if you notice here, debug mode is off here, and here the debug mode is active, or debug mode is on. Okay. Now, if again we want to run, then check hello India K. Now we'll check whether the changes are directed. If I save here, I go back. If there are any changes, the directory changes, and what is the file name? It is already reloaded. So we need to stop it again and start. So if you run it, good to go. So there are double exclamatory symbol K. So moving on, we will use localhost, so that will be more easy and readable instead of the IP address 127, localhost IP address 127.0.1. Okay, so now to start with, because we are more interested in API, so we are gonna not return as a string. So we wanted to return as a object or dictionary. So we'll discuss some minimal terms so that it will be easier for naming conventions. Or naming conventions, or whatever we can call it as. So let's say if you are coming from the JavaScript or other programming languages, then you might have heard about object. In Python, we might call it as dictionary. And if you might have heard about array, then we call it as list. Then function, here we can call it as method or function, variable, attributes. Okay, for now this is good to go. The only conventions to start with. Um, but if you really wanted to go ahead as a in a Python side aspect, we just more frequently use on dictionary and list rather than object or array. But it's easier for knowing the related namings. It will be easier to scale it up, or you can learn other things. Okay. So in our way, so most of the time we might have to return some data. Let's say I just wanted to keep it as something like status. Then we'll put some status code. Then we'll keep it as some class, something like success or some sort of things if you're using Bootstrap or some other classes in the front end world to help us with what type of uh, alert message or info or notification that you would like to display. And then the message. Okay. Let's say if you consider this is a home page, or if you this is the list page. Let's data for now, and we always call it as payload. All these things are convenient way. Whatever you want, you can return. So for now, let's keep the name as hello world itself. Let's run it again. So if we go back here, and then whenever we save here, it directed the changes and then reloading the page. I mean reloading the rerun the app. So run it again. So we got the result. Okay, so now the problem with this code is, one is the naming conventions, another one is what if we have more functionalities, or in real time projects it will not have only one method or one function or one class. We might have huge number of functions and concepts are to keep it things going. So what we might have to do, either we might have to move it to different pages and then point it to here. So how do we do that? So before that, we will keep things simple to go ahead further. So let's go back. Consider this will be what to say. Let's say home route. Yeah. Let's say welcome. Okay. Perfect. Now we'll change the file name as well. So let's call it as home. Now you have a problem because now we are running as a hello, because the command will look for hello.py. Now we have to change the file name to hello to home. Now we'll run it again. Yeah, so we got the same result. So far so good. We'll go back to the document. So now, as is stated, uh, there are a few things that we might have to consider. So we should not use what to say. If you don't want to use hyphen app, then either we have to keep the file name as app.py or wsgi.py. We really don't want to use hyphen app attribute. So here we are using hyphen attribute. So we'll just stop it here and we'll just change it to, let's close it. Let's change it to app. Now we'll give a try. So Flask, we don't want to use hyphen attribute this part. So we need to use only hyphen debug run. Okay. Perfect. Now it's running. Now we'll check it again as it is. So it is more it's more important we should read the documentations and ensure that the version that you are running in local, check the same version that you are reading the document. So let's say if you're having old project that is running on version 1.0, then you might have to switch it to version 1.0. Then you have to check the related way of runnings or the functionality supported in that version, because any languages it will keep on improvising. So along the way they will improvise the functionality, along the way they'll uh, sometimes they will improvise the syntaxes or the way that we are using the functionalities and all. It will keep on changing. So it's always better to how to approach any related documentations, so that it will be easier even if the versions are changing. So you need not to worry much. So you directly go to the documentations and then just look for the uh, what to say. You can directly look for the related areas, and then you can just copy and then just paste it and go ahead. And sometimes if you wanted to run it in a mobile, or if you want to access the same thing, then you can use hyphen host equal to 0.0.0.0. So it means that it can be accessible to the IP address. Okay, so far so good. So we'll move on to we'll go ahead one step ahead. Let's say, how do we pass the dynamic path parameters? What does mean by dynamic path parameters? Before move on to this part, we'll just understand few things related to the path parameters. Okay, so in that path parameter, so what is mean by path parameter? Let's say if you're reading an article, so you might have seen something like article slash some article name. It's article number, or sometimes it could be article slash how to learn Flask, something like that. So this could be an article, or let's say this one ID slash something like that we can keep. If you notice here, for every article will have the unique ID. Consider the 1, 2, 3s are the IDs, and or the format could be how to learn Django, etc. So in this scenario, so article slash ID is the fixed path, and then 1, 2, 3 will be the dynamic path. So this way we can call it as path parameters. So the same way, if you are looking at this part, so slash article slash how to learn Flask, how to learn Django. Either sometimes if you want to hard code the APIs, that is perfectly fine. But if you need a dynamic path, then how do we access? So you have to consider what are the like in what part it can be a dynamic path. Sometimes we might have to see like this one. Let's say slash v slash view. So in this case, 1, 2, 3 is the dynamic parameter and view is the fixed one. Okay, so let's keep it as two different example. Yeah, so for I think perfectly good to. So this one, let's say let's keep it as edit. Yeah. And what is the difference between path parameter and query parameter? Query parameters always start with question mark, and then let's consider this one. So in this part, so name will be the key, and it always both key and value parameter will be string. It will be considered as a string, and then John will be the value. And let's keep it this way. Key will be name and age. Value will be John and 20, and the separator will be split by will be and split by each set. Let's say key value pair can be separated by and each field name and then value will be separated by equal parameter. So this will be for a query parameter. And another this most of the time both path parameters and query parameter will come for a get. Doesn't matter which REST API that we are talking about. So primarily we'll be focused on get and then post. If you ask me, will path parameter and query parameter will come for both? Yes, path parameter and query parameter will come for both. And post will have additional features where it takes the body content. It can be a JSON format or form data format. So that there are some other formats that we can discuss along the way. But for now, the basic stuff. So let's focus on here. So here, if you notice here, what will be the path? Path will be root. So before that, it always start with localhost or the server path that we are setting up. By default, it will be considered as the host. So now we'll take some simple example to see. Let's consider here. So okay, and also we'll just try to change the version and see. So now we are taking two different paths. Now you will get an idea of what is let's say I'll copy three different paths. So now we notice here this will be the host or the domain. So flask.paletteprojects.com is the domain, and this will be the language or the either it can be fixed or it can be dynamic. This will be the version numbers, and then this will be the fixed path. This also could have a dynamic path, but for now we'll consider as a fixed path. Let's say I'll move back to again 2.2. Then if we go back to minimal application, if you notice here there's a hash is coming. Or if we move to the next page, we'll just go to the next page. Where is next page? Okay, let's move on to extent. Yeah. Now you got an idea. So now if you take this one and this one, so it means that this also dynamic, this also dynamic. Okay. So now how do we come up with the path parameter? So first thing we have to remove this. Let's say if we have a different languages, then we might have to consider this as also dynamic path parameter. But for now, we'll consider this will be the fixed path. So we'll take off the domain. So we'll start the slash. Then the fixed path will be en, and then any path parameter can be defined as less than and greater than symbol as a tag format. We'll call it as tag, so it'll be easier to call from the next time. So we'll call it as version number followed by either it can be a quick start, another one again can be an extension, something like that. Or if we wanted to consider as a dynamic path parameter, that also can be done. So en slash version number slash again this will be let's say consider as a topic name or topic slug, something like that, or topic name. I will consider as topic name. Perfectly good to go. So here in this case, version number and topic name is the dynamic path parameter. Okay. Other than that, from the last example, if you notice there is something called hash followed by some value. Okay. So let's consider hash. Hash parameter. So after query parameters, it will come as hash followed by a string. We'll consider as a string. It can be anything that can be passed and then can be used. Okay. So this will be the hash. So it can have both get and post will have the path and query parameter. Hash also can have path and query parameter. I mean path parameter and query dynamic path parameter and query parameter. Dynamic path parameter. So what is dynamic path parameter here? So in this case, version number is the dynamic path parameter, and quick start and extension will be the dynamic path parameter. So quick start extensions, we are keeping the related names, topic name, and then this will be a version number. Okay. So we'll consider the same way in this example and then try to implement it. So let's introduce one more route. So we'll try to copy this one and then just consider as en slash we know how to pass the dynamic path parameter. So we have to use tag format and then version number slash. Okay, so we have to call it as topic name. Okay. Now here we'll just call it as doc. It can be any name, no problem with that. let's call it as return. Then as usual for our upcoming part, so we'll gonna use the same pattern to keep things simple. So whenever we use version number, so we'll go back to the document and then see where it is. Okay, let's go. So whenever we are having a dynamic path parameter, we have to access as a function arguments are the parameter part. So version number and then topic name. So let's print before going. Okay, so let's run it. So we have to call this. So in a REST client, you can use a triple hash to start with a new API slash. Okay, so here if you notice here, every time we want to use here HTTP host 5000. So we don't want to use it again and again. So let's keep it as host. It can be any name, so no problem with that. Let's move this part to here so that we don't want to define it again and again. So host is done. Let's run this part again. So it's coming nicely the same. And then here I'll put host slash n slash, let's say we can use the same version number to check. So one version number can be 2.1. Quick start. Perfect. Now let's see. Oops. What is happening? Okay, slash is there. Okay, we'll try it out. Yeah, perfect. Now it's came, but the problem with it is printed in the console. I mean in the terminal or command prompt if you're using Windows. So in my case, I'm using item 2. So in your case, it can be a terminal or it can be a command prompt, or in VS Code itself you might have run. So doesn't matter where you run, but the idea same. So let's say we want to return this with here. I'll try to align it. Okay, so we'll remove this print and then we'll success. I'll just keep it as success. Okay, now let's see. Yeah, we got the topic name and we got the version number. So let's change the version number and check. So yeah, changed. We'll change the version number to 1.1.2.x, or we'll just change into 1. Doesn't matter what you're passing, it takes. But if you notice that all the path parameter consider as a string. Okay, even if you're passing it as a number, it will consider as a string. But how do we if we need that path parameter should be an integer, then how do you want to do that? So again, you go to the document. See, intention is here is not to just giving some examples or giving line by line explanations, but trying to provide the approaches, so that it doesn't matter what project, or let's say in this case Flask, if you're learning Django or if you're learning any other languages, approaches remain same. You go to the document, read it, try it, and then if you're facing any error, then do the search, and then you can learn along the way. As simple as that. Let's say we need only int, then we'll just mark, let's say version number should be int, then we'll just change it to int, then we'll check here again. Then, but if I change this into something like 0, let's see what is coming, because here it expects only integers. But if it is a different round, then it always return the 404, because it does not exist. There is no path found with this pattern. But if you are changing this into normal, then this will be detected as a 1.0 because it's a string. Okay, I hope you got an idea. Yeah, so we can scale to any route. So let's say if we want to change this in back to, let's say we want to try this one, good to go. Oops. Let's see, version number is done. Save. Okay, I have added last at the end. Okay, perfect. I hope this helps to get started. So in upcoming sessions, we will see other areas like working with REST APIs, post method especially, and the important areas in Flask. Thank you.